Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast. Rebecca, I saw your comment. I didn't respond back yesterday, but I saw your comment, and I actually haven't even read the full comment. Sorry, I just got caught up, but I did see that part about being told, you must register in SAM and you must be here. I remember spending $1,400, three of us in a company when we started up, going, and basically half of a day was about NAICS codes. Literally now I tell people you could do your NAICS codes in 3 minutes or less kind of thing. And I'm like, come on, there's faster ways for people to advise new businesses on how to get started. Anyways, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Rebecca was in the training yesterday and she had said something in the comments about what I said made sense. And so I'm just doing that one off. But let's go ahead and get to today's training because I'm excited to talk two things. I'm excited to talk about 10xing your win rate, but I'm also excited that it's a nice day outside. And when I'm done, I think I'm going to take the afternoon off or something. So let's go ahead and slide into introduction. Oh, that's not even the right. Oh, it's not even the right deck. Hold on a second. Come on, silly me. Oh, no. Well, it's the right deck. I just got the slide wrong, but that's okay. So we're going to be talking about how to 10x your win rate. And I wanted to start by just saying, you cannot hear me? Is that everybody can't hear me? Brett can hear me. Rebecca, I'll yell louder. No, so sorry. It looks like it's people get good audio. Oh, good. Okay, good. All right, so let's get started. Reset. Welcome to training. We're going to talk about how to 10x your win rate on your proposals that you're sending into the federal market. This is kind of an advanced topic, but it's really important if you're new to understand the win rate and how a prime contractor might 10x their win rate with the proposals they send in. If you understand it, then you're able to support them better. All right, I'm in a good mood. I'm in a relaxed mood, but we're going to get started talking about a comparison between win rate and P-win. They're not the same thing. So P-win stands for probability of win. Some people might change the P a little bit, but basically it means probability of win. And win rate means how many proposals do you win out of the number you send. So if you send in 10 proposals and you win one, your win rate is 10%. If you win 5, your win rate is 50%. P-win is totally different. Probability of win, I've been at this a long time, and it's one of those topics that people sometimes debate, but I come firmly on the side of a P-win's a complete waste. P-win is this idea of probability of winning, excuse me. And a lot of times when we're pursuing an opportunity, we think we can guess what our P-win is, and our P-win's getting higher and higher or something. It does not change. Our probability of winning is completely tied to the number of qualified proposals that the government gets. If the government gets 4 proposals that are good enough to award a contract to, our probability of winning is 1 out of 4 or 25%. That's different. We can't control that, but we can control our win rate because that's tied directly to the quality of our proposal, what we're writing, et cetera. So I said here, I think a good win rate is 1 out of 4. If you're sending 4 proposals and you're winning 1 every single time, then that's a really good win rate. You can't have hundreds of thousands of competitors and expect to win all the time because there's other people who've got good companies as well. I actually had a win rate closer to 1 out of 3, but it was because I was very tightly focused on what we sold. And we built a ton of past performance around it, and we stayed tightly focused in our sales efforts. But generally, I would have been totally happy with 1 out of 4. If you have a contract vehicle that's a limited contract vehicle, and what I mean by that is, let's say there's 20 companies or less who are on that vehicle, then I could see you increasing your win rate to 1 out of 3. You're really building a relationship with the federal buyers who are using that vehicle, et cetera. But if you're on Seaport Next Gen or 8A Stars 3 or any GSA Mass, you're not gonna decrease that because you're on that vehicle. There's 1,000 plus other people on that vehicle. And when you think about win rate, and I want to increase or 10x your win rate, it directly ties to your revenue. I want you to have more revenue. The way you get more revenue is to land more sales, right? Increase your win rate. And so that's why we're going to be talking about that today. I'm going to break it up into 3 different sections. Three different things you can do to 10x your win rate within the federal market. First thing is have the right opportunities in your sales pipeline. If you're pursuing the wrong stuff and you're not experienced in that area, your win rate's going to be horrible. So first, we want to talk about having the right opportunities in your pipeline. When you have those, then it goes directly to step 2 that we'll talk about, building and developing relationships early on with the buyers. So you have those opportunities, the right opportunities in your pipeline. Now let's build relationships with your buyers so we influence that, our chances of winning, influence our win rate. And then the third thing is make your proposals compelling. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about compelling. I've done a ton of training on that. But the idea is if you want to sit there and increase your win rate, you cannot just shoot out compliant proposals. And compliant means the government says a bunch of shall statements and you say, sure, we shall do that. That's just firing and forgetting type thing. Sales is about actually compelling the customer, giving them a reason through data and evidence on why they should work with you. So I'm going to dive into that in step number 3. Hopefully that makes sense, right? Win rates rock in the chat if you want to hear what I'm about to talk about. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I am founder of Call Plan AI, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner after I got out of the Army. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. This is what I want for you. And this is what I think you can have when you put process in place. You can start having more predictable results with your sales success. If you haven't done so already, make sure you follow me on LinkedIn, subscribe to my newsletter. It's called Government Contracting Success. Love to have you in there. I always share content or post newsletter articles that are directly related to how do you do your job as a federal salesperson. Whether you own the company or a business developer, et cetera, we're all responsible for sales. I don't have next week's training lined up. This is your first time. I always do the training, put it out for the next week. I generally do it over the weekend. And so just watch for that. Make sure you're following me on LinkedIn. Let's go ahead and dive into having the right opportunities. An interesting thing, the first thing I said is clear, focused offer. Do me a favor, in the chat or the comments, wherever you're at, tell me, what do you sell? But in 2 or 3 words, right? If you have to go to 4, that's okay. But 2 or 3 words, what do you sell? What's your specialty? This is kind of the start or the foundation of your clear, focused offer. And if you don't have a clear, focused offer, if you don't know what you sell, then you're not going to be able to get really good at identifying the best opportunities to put into your sales pipeline. By the way, if you're newer to this, a pipeline could be, you can track it and use any tool you want, but a pipeline basically are the list of opportunities that you're pursuing. So if you got 10 opportunities or 40 opportunities you're pursuing, that's your pipeline. Whether you write it on a whiteboard, a spreadsheet, or a fancy tool, it's still your pipeline. In that pipeline, you want to put have a clear focused offer so that you can put the right things into your pipeline. When you have your clear focused offer and you niche it down into a specialty area. So let's say, I don't know if Chris Moffitt, my friend here, is here today, but she says all things training. One thing I would love to see her talk about is niching down to, well, specifically what kind of training? Right? Is it all things web-based training? Is it all things IT training or weapons systems training? So niche down into a specialty area. When you do that, have a clear focused offer and niche down into a specialty area, you are then able to write down criteria of the right opportunities, what I call a slam dunk opportunity, right? A slam dunk opportunity are the right opportunities to put in your pipeline. These are opportunities that match your criteria for what you can do, the work that you do best. My last company, we did Microsoft SharePoint. So a slam dunk for us would be, it has to be a Microsoft SharePoint opportunity. It has to be migration or administration or systems architecture, et cetera. It has to be in this agency, right? There's a couple of other things you might want to put in. Like I would never put in my last company, I would never put in the IC, the intelligence community. I wouldn't do that. It has to be in the defense or civilian side because it's just too convoluted for me to find people and hire them and put them over in the IC side. And so I'd much rather just stay in my sweet spot. Well, that's the criteria you're laying out. You should have 5 or 10 items or checklist check boxes on what makes an opportunity a slam dunk. And I don't care if you're a $1 billion company or a $5 company. That's so easy to do. If you take 2 seconds on a whiteboard and say, hey, this is what we do. This is niching it down. And here's the checklist to make sure that we can identify the opportunity and measure it against that checklist. The other big thing about having the right opportunity and how this helps your win rate is if you don't niche down, you're going everywhere. And you can never compete against those of us who specialize because we keep focusing on past performances. And I want you to think about that same thing. If you have the right opportunities in your pipeline, and let's say today I'm going to use SharePoint as the example that I did. If you have SharePoint in your pipeline and you just keep putting opportunities, tiny ones, a little bigger, et cetera, into the pipeline, you're able to build upon each one of those past performances. When you go in to get the next bigger contract, you say, hey, we did 3 smaller ones. And you just keep getting bigger and having 3, getting bigger and having 3. Pretty soon you have 25 past performances all related to the same thing compared to really, doing training, doing SharePoint, doing cybersecurity or something. It's like, that's great. You could jack of all trades. What I want is a specialist. I put down here that, when you think about the evolution of experience and past performances, I might go out and get 3 past performances that are $5,000 contracts. Doing Microsoft SharePoint, I might go in there and just basically build an app for $5,000 where I take a spreadsheet and I bring it into SharePoint and now it looks pretty, right? And I charge them $5,000 and I get 3 of those or 10 of those, right? And then I can move to the $50,000 projects and then move to $500,000. And if I've got 3 or 4 $500,000 projects, then I can win $1 million project. If I have $3 or $4 million projects, I can start winning $2 million projects. That's where we go. We don't start up there at the $100 million level. We work our way up there. And if we have clear, focused offer, slam dunk opportunities in our pipeline that build upon each other, it makes it so much easier to win. It increases our win rate because when we show up, we are impressing them. We're saying we do this work and we're showing them that we've been paid over and over with your sister agencies throughout the federal government. That's why you should choose us. So I encourage you to remove junk from your sales pipeline. Look at your pipeline and go, hey, we just defined our slam dunk opportunity. Here's our criteria. Is that one matching that criteria? Is that one matching the criteria? And have the courage to throw stuff out of your pipeline, even if you have worked on it. It doesn't matter if you have spent $100,000 working on that thing. Look at it and go, should I spend $101,000 or $100,001, right? Should I go one more dollar in this? That's the hardest thing in any kind of project. And sales is no different than project management, that we got to know when to stop if the project's not on track or it's not the right project. And in the sales pipeline, you want to do that same thing. Look at it and go, I don't care if I've been knocking on their door for 6 months. That really is not what we do. Let me get rid of it. Because when you get rid of it, there's room for other ones. I put in here Neil rule. I told you that you want to have a slam dunk opportunity criteria checklist, right? If any opportunity comes in, it gets measured against that. My rule is if anybody in your company, including you, has to rationalize why this fits in our pipeline, why this is a slam dunk. If you have to rationalize why it's a good opportunity, it is not a slam dunk opportunity. It might survive the rationalization process and go in the pipeline anyways as an exception, but don't ever sit there and damage the value of your slam dunk criteria by letting an opportunity come in and pretend to be slam dunk, right? It's so easy. You just measure it against the criteria and you go, it's not a slam dunk. Whether we want to go after it or not, it's a whole separate question. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. It's increasing your win rate begins with having the right opportunities in your sales pipeline. The second thing that happens is the second thing you need to do is build relationships, right? Get in there, start and build relationships that will turn into long-term strategic relationships with your customer. If you're hearing about opportunities and pursuing them pretty rapidly, well, that's not sales, that's responding, right? That's order taking, that's totally okay. I gave a description earlier this week where with one of my customers, we heard about an opportunity on Monday. It actually just aligned to them really well. So by Wednesday, they had wrote a 10-page response. It was RFI market research, but it made sense to move that fast because it was kind of in their sweet spot. But that's not ideal. What is ideal is hearing about it a long time earlier. And And so in this particular case, if I keep using that example, that they wrote the RFI response now, and I say this fortunately or unfortunately, but unfortunately, I'm pretty sure this is going to be awarded by the end of this fiscal year. But usually that market research happens a little longer, 6, 12 months before an opportunity comes out, depending on the size. And so you want to get in and start building relationships, because you can't build, or you can't 10x your win rate without engaging the buyer. If you just fire and forget RFP responses, you're not really going to change your win rate. You'll change it negatively, but you'll never improve it, because at best you're writing, really good proposal responses with no engagement from the customer using an AI tool. Well, so is everybody else. So you're on even level. And if they've got a lot of people responding, your win rate's going to be pretty miserable. But if you get in and you start talking to the customer, you can increase your win rate. You can 10x that win rate. I write here that you can 10x your win rate by showing an understanding. Stephen Covey talks about seek first to understand, then to be understood. In an understanding, in this particular case with your federal buyer, begins with, what are you trying to get accomplished, right? Not just what are the task areas, but why are you even going after this requirement? What do you need this product or service for? And it aligns to their mission. And so you need to understand their mission. You can 10x your win rate just by understanding the mission of the agency you're going after, and then the lower office, right? They have a different mission. Their mission certainly aligns to the top, but they have a different set of responsibilities. And so you need to understand that mission. You can 10x the win rate by showing an understanding of their challenges, pain points, and risks, the risk concerns that they have. So challenges and pain points, hopefully this is pretty clear to you, that these are the problem areas that they have, right? I have this problem, I need to solve it. We call them challenges sometimes, we call them pain points. Pain points in particular are a huge issue where they're trying to figure out how to fix a problem. And then I just add to that by saying you can understand risks. So problems and challenges are risks that have occurred, right? These are issues that they have. I have a problem right now. That is a risk come to life. A risk is about a problem I think I might have if I don't fix it. And that's really important, because if you take challenges and pain points and you call those explicit problems, right? They can point right to something and say, my servers keep crashing. That is an explicit problem. But there's an implied problem. My servers are old and I'm worried about them crashing. So that's a risk or a concern that they have. And when you get in and build relationships with buyers, and you get in and start having conversations, and you can't have it all in one meeting. You've got to get in there and have a first meeting that leads to a second, leads to a third, right? But when you get in and start talking to them, you not only discover what everybody probably knows, which are the challenges and pain points, but you start hearing the underlying concerns that they have about what's going to happen next year. So that's why you really want to build those relationships. When you have that information and you can feed it back into the proposal, that helps 10x that win rate. You can also 10x your win rate by understanding the opposite of the problems, right? Are their priorities, their goals or objectives. And I just used 3 different ways, but this is how the federal government talks, right? They set priorities of where they're going. We want to lower the homeless rate of veterans. That's not it's kind of a goal, but it's a priority that they have. And then they put goals inside of a priority like that. And then they put objectives inside of each one of those goals. Well, what you want to be doing is looking at an agency and then your program offices and understanding, how is this requirement addressing those objectives, those goals, those priorities that this agency has, that this program office has. When you understand that, you can tie their objectives, goals, and priorities back to the requirement and then back to your solution. Our solution helps you this way by this. We call it ghosting sometimes, where you understand their priorities and you're talking about it, which makes a person go, oh my gosh, that like totally aligns to my priorities. It's like, yeah, I know that. Like I did my research. I'm aligning it in that way by talking about it. And the priority is being ghosted, like you somehow see it, but we're not explicitly stating the priority. So this, if you do this, you can 10x your win rate, because not only does it increase that idea that, man, these people get us, but also your proposal and your solutioning is so much more aligned to what they need that maybe they couldn't fully articulate in a performance work statement. I put here you can 10x your win rate by having conversations, just by getting in there and talking to the government. You develop these relationships and you hear things that are not shared in technical requirements or not shared in the proposal or the RFPs that come out, et cetera. I was talking to my son the other day and I said, one of the best ways to get somebody to like you when you're having a conversation with them is to not really talk. And I'm not trying to get into a big debate here, but when we sit there and talk with somebody and we feel like they're listening to us and they hear us and we're sharing that story, not that they're just dominating the conversation, but I'm talking. Imagine a buyer is talking to you, right? At the end, they're like, man, I like that company. They get it, right? And the reason they're thinking we get it is because we just sat there and listened to them. Or when we were asking questions, we're not trying to influence them. We're just trying to explore that need that they have, whether it's a challenge or a goal. We're trying to explore that need further. And having conversations is how you do that. When you get in there and have these conversations, you're able to shape the requirements. You're able to talk to them about possible solution areas they can be thinking about. When you're the one shaping the requirements, whether it's formally shaping it where it gets into the documents or you're shaping it in their head, you're helping them see that AI is maybe the right way to go or something. When you shape the requirements, you increase your chances of winning. You 10x your win rate. And then the last thing about this on conversations, right, is when you just write a response, at best, you just look like you're a good vendor responder. But when you're in there talking with them, and you evolve from this person I don't know into this person I see as a vendor, into this person I completely forget as a vendor, and I'm seeing you as a trusted advisor. I lean back and I'm like, well, John, what do you think about this? Now, Sally, how will that apply to my company, right? Or my agency or something? When they start doing that, they're seeing you as a trusted advisor and you're having conversations. Now you're ready to pitch in your proposal because you've positioned them in this way where you have earned their trust. Right? You didn't manipulate them there. You had a conversation. You listened to them. You had discussions about possible solutioning or something. And that's the evolution from a vendor to a trusted advisor. When you can evolve to that stage, you massively increase your win rate. Hey, before I move on to the last slide, just want to thank our sponsors for today's lives, Graham, who does staffing, recruiting services, and American Sign Language Services. I really appreciate Graham's support. They've been supporting me for years. And Steel Toed does CMMC and cybersecurity services. Check them out, especially if you're in the DoD and trying to get CMMC certified. Restream, who is the platform that I use to push this out to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, et cetera, so that I can reach you every day. And then Call Plan AI, it's my company. So if you're interested in starting and building relationships, taking meetings from the first meeting to the second meeting, et cetera, go check out Call Plan AI. Thank you to our sponsors, though. I really appreciate it. Okay, I got 7 minutes and a whole slide here. I teach inside of the proposal process, or when you write a proposal, I say it should be 4 C's, right? And I'm not overly unique in the way I say it. I just like the 4 C's. I used to say 4 C's with SharePoint for something totally different. But in a proposal, a winning proposal is clear, it's compliant, it's compelling, and it's convincing. When I say clear, I mean it's easy to read, easy to understand. A real simple example of one of my absolute favorite things to do is if there's no restrictions, I make my proposals 14-point font. You'd be amazed how people like their eyes aren't stressed. They can just enjoy it, right? I make the sentences smaller, far less jargon, right? I use just enough jargon where I need to use it, like RMF, I might put in there for risk management framework, but that's okay because I'm responding to a cyber opportunity. But I don't go heavy on the jargon because that begins to make it less clear or easy to read. Remember, it's not always a cyber expert who's reading a cyber proposal from you. It's people in different roles, like the contracting officer who doesn't really know about cyber. Clear is also this idea that it just flows, right? The paragraphs, so many people are afraid of white space, but the paragraphs are smaller. I have this rule, and sometimes, very rarely, I violate it, but generally I have this rule of no paragraph is more than 4 lines in Microsoft Word, right? So when it wraps around, I'm like, well, let me just figure out how to break it. It allows people to pop down your page. And I want your page to, the proposal to be kind of easy to turn the page. I'm like, okay, I get this. People can circle. This is a skill set. taking 25 pages that they give you and shrinking it down into 10 pages. You should be able to say whatever you said in 25 pages down in 10 pages. Mark Twain, I think, or somebody else had this great line that says, hey, if you need me to speak for an hour, I can go up on stage right now. But if you're only going to give me 1 minute, I'm going to need 3 months of preparation. And the reason I say that is I get that coming down is hard, but if you can come down, then you're driving your point home to your buyers in the least amount of words in a way that totally gets them to go, yep, that's awesome. And that's part of what I mean by clear. Compliant, I'm not really going into beyond all the shall statements are addressed, right? And then compelling, I'm going to talk about in 1 second, but basically it makes them say, wow. And then convincing is the proof behind the wow. So you want to wow them and then give them proof behind this. And so one of the things I was talking about here is you need to commit to making your proposal a page turner. It's not about making your proposal full of words. You know, I got tons of word here. I'm putting a table in here with even more words. And I'm going to put a graphic that has 1,000 bazillion things. No, it should be the proposal. When people read it, it should be like a Dan Brown novel. If you've ever read like a Da Vinci Code or something, like I could never put that down. Every time I went to the chapter, I had to go to the next one. And his chapters were all like 3 pages or something, 4 pages. I felt like, you know, you get to the end and you're like, what next? And you almost want to sit there and have that level of commitment to your buyer. I want them to feel and see the answer to their need in my proposal. You want to provide a wow, right? A wow that I see where you're going. The reader of your proposal is looking at that going, oh my God, you put that in place? I could see it. We're going to be able to do this. We're going to have this success and these problems are gone. It's like, wow, you really impressed me, right? That is compelling. So then we lean back as a reader and we go, well, but can you really deliver that, right? I mean, I want that. That looks really good, but can you deliver it, right? And I'm not getting into the overly creative. You can wow people on technical stuff like cleaning the bathrooms. There's ways to do things like that. And so what you need to do after that is convince them. And that's the whole point of convincing, right? Convincing generally is with past performance. It's with stories that says, you know, hey, we can do this. We've done it here. We can do this. We've done it here. That's why when the government says 3 past performances, I'm like, okay, there those are. And then I take my best stories and I weave them into my narratives. I wanted to give you a quick example here of how I try to wow, right? And it's hard to pull an example out for a training, but I pulled one that I thought was really impressive that we have done recently. With one of my customers, I was helping them write a response back on administrative support. So kind of staffing needs that the government had. And what I suggested they do as a kind of this wow factor is weave in AI as a way to say, our goal is to start here and then every year reduce the contract. That is where the government is right now. Everywhere they're trying to figure out how do they reduce. Well, I might as well weave it in. And so what we did is wove in how AI could assist the people who are doing the work, do it far more efficiently. And so then maybe we need less people. And what I told my customer is you just charge more. So your profit margin goes up, but maybe the overall contract is a little smaller. But that way you can really compete against your customers. This is just one example, and I'm not here to debate it too much, but how could you wow your customer, right? Think about how you can wow. When you can wow them in the proposals, you increase your win rate. The chances of the likelihood that you're going to win there is going to significantly increase. And then I already put at the bottom here, make sure you bring the convincing, right? Anytime you wow the customer in a proposal, don't just blow smoke, but prove it, right? Saying, here it is. All right, here's what I want you to remember from today's training. The first thing is to clean out your sales pipeline. Go in there, anything that doesn't belong, that's not a slam dunk opportunity, get rid of it so that you can focus on the ones that are true winners for you. And then start building those relationships with federal buyers. Get in, talk to them. You can't do it on an opportunity that's coming out in the next 30, 60 days. So look out and go, hey, what do I got 3 to 12 months out? And let me start building relationships, right? And the last thing is, remember that be compelling part. Be compelling, be compelling. Do you think I can do that on a Friday and get away with it? Okay, so just remember as you go forward through your, the week's almost over here, but depending on when you watch this, if you watch replays, remember that government contracting, it's not a secret, it's just a process. Hey, part of the process is ending on time. It's 12:30. I am out of here. Hope you have a great weekend.